Hey, how's it going, people? It is Political Integrity News here, and today we're gonna go over Harry Sisson, his kind of talking points about Trump nonsense, which, all politicians use word salad per se, and we'll show you that from Kamala Harris. But they use word salad when they find a question that is a bit difficult to answer in the current moment. And we'll speak at certain points on this. But before we do, thank you guys for being here and hit that subscribe button because we're going to bring you many more breaking news and different things with politics moving forward. Without further ado, here we go.
Same vein, like, why are people clapping for him? Why are people voting for him? If this is the Republican nominee for president and he can't answer a question straight on any issue, then he is clearly unfit to be president of the United States. This is what Donald Trump does. Anytime he's asked a question on any policy, on any specific, on any issue, he pivots to something else and just rambles. This is why this upcoming presidential debate between him and Kamala Harris is going to go so poorly for him. Because when he's on the stage with somebody who's competent, who knows what they're talking about, who knows what they're doing, the difference will be night and day.
Now, remember, this is the same kid that swore up and down the same thing when Biden debated Trump. He swore up and down it was going to go that way. And after the debate, he was one of the very few, if single person on any social media and media platform out there that claimed Biden won and still went with all these talking points and didn't stop with any of these talking points until Biden officially dropped out. And then it was, hey, we're supporting Harris and all this great talk for Harris, as you hear. So, let's listen to what
has washed off the sunscreen, wrapping up his 2-week beach to Mania.
Go ahead.
Dreams. Ordered to that again. Have a look.
Watch.
We have dreams. We can see what is possible, unburdened by what has been.
There we are.
Yep.
Now,
Since it is this.
Can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, see, there's her word salad talking point whenever she can't answer a question, especially when it comes to inflation, when it comes to the border, when it comes to the wars. She will be going to that talking point of that's all she really says. And CNN asked her on her policy reversal when dealing with fracking, and to her credit, she said she supported a fracking bill and that she hasn't changed her mind since then, but she's changed her mind on other policies. But now we're going to talk about the immigration and the bill, and I'm going to go over some stuff with that.
Big one is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced. since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how...
Okay, so she says she's done all of that as Attorney General, but as many people pointed out previously, she also tried to keep nonviolent criminals in jail past sentences that they would have been left out and released so they can have cheap labor. She has jailed apparently thousands of people, like, was it 1,500, 1,000 people, 1,500, something like that, for marijuana, only to claim in college she smoked marijuana when she was listening to rap music that wasn't even out back then yet. So, and her dad even called her a liar for that. But, you know, it's now politically acceptable, and I guess you're on the right side of things if you support marijuana legislation to allow marijuana. And so saying you smoked marijuana back in the day, I guess, is good for your political career. And so that's potentially why she may be doing that. But her dad says she's lying. Take it for what you will. And she slept with her boss. And that is supposedly why she got the job she did. And there was a man on death row that she had the evidence that would prove the man innocent, and was not willing to give it up without the courts stating so. That's her record as being an attorney general. She was willing to let a man die as attorney general when she had the evidence to free an innocent man. It's not like the man wasn't, she had the evidence there that proved the man innocent. But if you ever watch TV shows and anything of the sort, if they get any of that based off of reality, then as an attorney general, it would be bad if a person that you put away is released and found that they were innocent when you were one of the big reasons why they were locked up. You don't want that on your career. So she kept the man in there as long as she could, till the courts are like, no, give up the information. Oh, we got to release this guy. Like, it was close to him being killed. Like, no. But let's go over this bill. So it was a 370-page bill. When it was coming out, it was already in jeopardy. And the bill had conservatives, but they argued that the 118,000 billion plus legislation. So yeah, I'm sorry, billion plus legislation will send tens of billions of dollars to aid Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, which should never be a thing. Like, no bill that is going towards one subject, such as the border, should have stuff in there that says we are going to give tens of billions of dollars to other things. Like, why they attach that as bills is beyond me, and the people need to know this, and they need to state that they're sick and tired of seeing this, because it doesn't matter if it's for a good cause or not. It needs to end. Bills need to only be about the subject that the bill is like named for, what they're going for. We shouldn't be adding BS onto a bill or anything good or bad. Shouldn't be. They should be totally separate. So you want to send money to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan? Okay, I may not agree depending on how much is sent and the reasons why and everything, and some people may agree, some may not agree, depending on the situations. Let's hear why, and then let them determine that that's worthy cause. But no, they don't tell you why. A lot of times they're doing certain things, they add it into a bill that they're pretty sure the main bill will be passed, the reasoning for it. Like, hey, we're gonna send a whole bunch of money to the US schools, but also we're gonna be sending a whole bunch of money to Israel as part of that same bill. Well, why? They know that everyone's going to back sending money to US schools, but a part of that, Israel is now going to get, $10 million. No, Israel should get $10 billion from the Israel getting $10 billion bill, not from the US school funding bill. Like, that should never be a thing. And this is the border wall bill. Like, no, shouldn't be a thing. But I digress. Let's continue. So, the biggest reason that a lot of conservatives, Republicans, were against this bill is because they claimed there was too many loopholes to stop the spiking of migration at the southern border. They're basically saying it doesn't matter. You can, add in agents, you can claim you're stopping fentanyl and all this stuff, but you are still allowing a lot of loopholes that is not going to stop the migration. So let's see what they have to say here on Politico. So they're saying detention, immigration, and customs enforcement will get almost $8 billion in emergency funding. So that's good. They're going to get emergency funding. So you can't be against that. The plan would set a goal of speeding up the review of asylum claims, striving to let no cases last more than 6 months, often by allowing asylum officers to close out a claim rather than going through the immigration courts. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services would get nearly $4 billion to help shoulder that new workload, including for hiring more than 4,300 asylum officers. So that's dealing with people claiming to be seeking asylum, to show greater proof to seek refuge. So they got to show more proof, apparently, to seek refuge in the U.S. and would ensure they're allowed a lawyer if they're facing rapid deportation. All unaccompanied children under 14 years old would also be granted lawyers during removal proceedings, covered by an infusion of $350 million for the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of lawyers and people that were in favor of helping those coming over and trying to seek asylum. Now, granted, they broke our laws, but look, let's figure that out. Like, we're not inhumane, but we do also need to figure out why they're trying to seek asylum and if we could truly help. Because you got to look at it this way. If someone comes knocking at your door and they said, I need shelter, food, and I don't know for how long, can you help? That's how you got to look at this. Like, the US is your home. Can we afford it? Plus, what are we doing to help those that live here in the US that need the help? What are we doing for the struggling Americans that can barely afford to survive? And there's been countless articles stating that middle-class Americans and lower are going into massive amount of debts trying to survive. So they're creating a whole ton of credit card debt only to survive. They're not going out and getting a credit card to get that massive new TV. No, they're getting a credit card because all their paycheck went to paying for car insurance, gas. Now they don't have food. So what do they need? They need a credit card to go to the grocery store to pay for food. Why? Because inflation is kicking their butt. And Harris has stated that she wants to do a price cap, which is a communist policy that doesn't necessarily work, because then it forces smaller food companies to go out of business because they necessarily can't afford the price cap as, say, a larger business. But then it takes those larger businesses, and let's say they're coming out with a limited edition, or they have like some kind of limited edition food item, and they're trying something new, you know, a healthier option. Well, let's say the healthier option costs a little more, but they don't mind offsetting some of that cost because the unhealthy option has more users buying it. And they'll take the profits from the unhealthier option to offset the cost to make the healthier option, to make sure that the healthier option is at an affordable cost. Well, when you tell them that they get a price cap, all their stuff, well, what's going to happen is they're going to have to raise the price on the healthier option. And then the people aren't going to want it because they had to raise the price so much, because they price cap not only the healthier option, but the unhealthy option. And so they can only go so much with a price cap to the price cap. So if they're going to raise it, they have to make sure it's within the price cap. And that just means that they will be not selling the item because no one's going to want to pay those prices, or they're going to find out they're not making anything off of it. So gone, price cap, not something to do. The ports of entry. DHS would consider asylum requests for people crossing at legal ports entry during the periods of border shutdown. Asylum requests per day under those terms. They'd have to process at least 1,400 asylum requests per day. Yeah, and that's just the asylum requests of people that come through. That's not accounting for the fact that they are giving parole, presidential parole, monthly to people seeking asylum in the US, and they have to meet certain criteria. But now these people aren't crossing the border. These people are just being flown over by the US as long as they meet those criteria. 1.4 billion would be dispersed to help states and local governments handle the influx of migration. In New York alone, the governor earlier this month proposed spending 2.4 billion to provide services to migrants in her annual budget. And that's because not just the state of New York, but New York City, Chicago, like all these major cities, they were starting to fly the migrants over, the illegal immigrants. And at one point, Texas was just sending them places, being like, hey, y'all got money up there and we're not trying to deal with it. We want like a better secure border. So what we're going to end up doing is just sending them y'all way. Well, they were overrun. So now they're trying to provide more money to those states that can give the cities that really need it money. Granted, they're getting money to deal with illegal immigration, which includes sometimes hotel stays as reported. It includes giving them funds such as like an EBT fund so they can go get food. And according to reports, some of these people are staying in nice hotels and getting more subsidies for food than a homeless person even gets. A homeless person might be able to go to a soup kitchen. And that's at best the amount of care they would get. And those aren't always supported by local governments. It's sometimes going to be just people volunteering. But local governments are going to support illegal immigrants and everything dealing with illegal immigrants. That just boggles my mind. The bill would force the Biden administration to use money already laid out for border barriers and the kind of steel fencing that Trump boasted during his tenure. That Pollard-style border wall is supposed to be 18 to 30 feet high with anti-dig and anti-climb features, which, yeah, that. So when Biden first came to office, he stopped the executive orders and everything, which included stopping the border wall. Eventually, the border crisis grew to the point that even those that supported Biden-Harris and everyone else was starting to say, other than the far right, what do they call them? The squad. Like, apart from them and their hardcore supporters, everyone was like, we have to do something about the border crisis with illegal immigrants. And they went back to a lot of Trump policies, which included building more of the border wall. Permanent residents will be offered to Afghans who fled their home country and received special immigration visas following the withdrawal of U.S. forces in 2020. It would also allow Afghans who are considered U.S. allies to be deemed refugees and entitled to special State Department protections or immediate removal from Afghanistan. Yeah. Afghanistan nationals. Also be offered, so special immigrant status would also be offered to Afghans who are immediate relatives of U.S. military members or veterans. Up to 2,500 special immigrant visas would be offered for a year for a total of up to 10,000, which I get, you know, if they're a relative of a U.S. military member or veteran, which I'm not sure. You'd have to tell me the numbers on how many, but I doubt it's going to be a lot. But also, from my understanding, they weren't doing as great vetting process on this. Could be wrong. But as of more recent, like, are we still getting refugees from there? Are they talking about refugees that are currently here that they haven't dealt with? The deal would free up 250,000 new visas over half a decade for people seeking to work in the U.S. or to join family members. It would offer work authorization for the children and spouses of people who have had H-1B visas for specialized jobs that often require a bachelor's degree, like tech and engineering work, which I do know that they offer like work visas and different things for people to come over here that are here to do a specialized job. So offering for children and spouses to also be able to find work and stuff like that would be amazing too. So that way it's not just, hey, you know, you're this great scientist working over here and you're going to be the only provider for your family because the rest are not granted work visas. Well, I guess they're going to deal with that, which is good. Immigrants awaiting visas will also be eligible for work if they have a U.S. citizen spouse or fiance. So that's a good thing. Can't state that being bad. Countering fentanyl, so you know they're gonna give more than 23 million to disband Mexican cartels, disrupt them, and try to curb the flow of drugs into the U.S. Documented dreamers. There's always been a case of dreamers children who accompany their parents on a work visa and could potentially lose their place in line for a green card at age 21. So they're going to help children, even if it means that, you know, they could potentially lose a green card at 21. They're going to try to change laws to help get them their dreamer status and become citizens. Immigrants who apply for asylum could be eligible to work in the U.S. while they wait. Okay. The Customs and Border Protection would get nearly $7 billion in emergency funding. So I mean, there's a lot that's good about this bill, and I will say, tweak it if it allows, as being said, or any kind of loopholes. Don't kill the bill, tweak the bill. But also take out the parts that's funding other countries. That's ridiculous. The US should not be funding other countries with immigration bill. That, no. We shouldn't be doing that. Ridiculous. Hopefully you guys like this video. It's a bit lengthy, but you know, gonna be putting out more videos, and I will see you guys on the next one.